Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Ora News broadcast. It's now time for our daily English news edition, Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. A meeting was held today to explore the possibility of alternative punishments and probation services in Albania. The meeting was attended by the Minister of Justice, the Ambassador of the OSCE, the Prosecutor General, and a number of prosecutors and judges from Elbasan, Kavaya, and Durrës. Minister Manjani spoke very harshly about the justice system in Albania, saying that it was responsible for some of the country's biggest problems, including the property issue. He said, "The courts of Albania are going in an unknown direction. Some courts are responsible for the theft of public property, especially in the coastal areas. The administrative court is becoming like a parallel government with its recent rulings. It was established to make quick decisions, but now, contrary to the law, it is doing the work of the government," said Manjani. The Minister of Justice encouraged the judges to distance themselves from any colleagues that are not doing their jobs. He told them that they must implement the law, as there can be no good governance without justice. He went on, "The problems of the government deepen when the country's judges do not do their duty properly. There will be no tolerance for judges who are not moving in the right direction," said Manjani. The Interior Minister Samir Tahiri also spoke today, accusing the Union of Judges of making unethical choices. He said, "A few days ago, I denounced a judge from Vlora who freed someone who was arrested for illegal possession of firearms. I have heard that the Union of Judges defended his decision. The judges cannot win the respect of the society by issuing these rulings or by defending each other when they are clearly wrong. They must win the respect by serving with dignity," said the minister. The Minister of Defense commented today on the tragedy of Gerdec 8 years ago, in which 26 were killed and more than 300 were injured. Minister Kokedhima said that this event was caused by the greed of power-hungry individuals. She spoke about the need for justice for those who caused this catastrophic tragedy. The Minister of Interior, Samir Tahiri, also rebuked the justice system for failing to bring those responsible to justice. "Today it has been 8 years since the explosion in Gerdec," he said, "an event that shocked all of Albania. Those who were responsible for that event were sentenced to fewer years in prison than the number of people that they killed. One of them is on a visit abroad today, speaking about the justice reform and the decriminalization," said Tahiri. The minister met with a group of residents and businessmen from Gerdec to listen to their concerns. The businessmen were concerned about financial compensation, and the family members of the victims asked for justice. The explosion took place in an ex-military ammunition plant on March 25th of 2008. The socialist MP Kokedhima was invited to be a guest last night on our program Tonight Il Vetare. He spoke about the justice reform, saying that in order to finish it properly, the opinion of the citizens must be sought. Speaking on the Socialist Party Congress and the new statute, he said that the final statute has not been published yet. According to him, the one that has been published still needs to be revised after any proposals that might be made at the party Congress. He also spoke about the government's reforms, saying that the territorial reform was vital for the country. He compared them to the changes that were made back in 2008, which he says were a disaster. When asked about his party's alliance with the SMI, he expressed his conviction that the ruling coalition will win the elections again in 2017. He says that the next president will be elected with consensus by the two parties of the ruling coalition. He appeared to be excluding the Democratic Party from the presidential negotiations. The weekly meeting of the Socialist Parliamentary Group was less intense than it was last week, but there were still debates between the party members. Most of the argument was focused on the MP Kokedhima and the request to send his mandate before the Constitutional Court. He asked for clarification on why he was not notified beforehand that his mandate would be in question, a concern he also raised on our program Tonight Il Vetare. He asked the head of the parliamentary group, Gramoz Ruci, to explain why he was never notified about this vote. On our program last night, he mentioned the issue of his mandate, explaining his surprise when he learned that the parliament will be voting on whether to send him in front of the Constitutional Court. Our sources tell us that Mr. Ruci responded by saying that Thursday's vote was conducted according to the parliament regulations, and that the Socialist Party did not have the right to object. Kokedhima spoke to the media after the meeting today. He said that Ruchi told him that the issue was added to the agenda automatically, leaving no time to discuss it with him beforehand. Today's meeting also brought the first reaction to the request for early elections, if the justice reform is not adopted. The MP Ben Blushi said that anyone who wants early elections wants to send the Socialist Party into opposition. The MP who requested the early elections, Pandeli Maiko, would not comment to the media after the meeting. An activity was held today for the new applicants to the State Police Academy. Present at the event, the Prime Minister told the 5,000 applicants about the past reformation of the state police. He said that when his party came to power in 2013, they found an uneducated police department. According to him, the police have now been transformed into the most trustworthy institution in Albania. Mr. Rama also spoke about the Interior Minister Samir Tahiri, defending him against the recent attacks on his character. He said, "There have been 1,300 documented statements against the Minister of Interior. The industry of slander is the industry of crime. There can be no real reform if there are no accusations trying to stop the reform. If it weren't for the reform of the state police and the results we achieved, Albania would not have received the candidate status. The reform shows Brussels that Albania has the ability to form a proper state. This trust was strengthened by the irreplaceable work of the Ministry of Defense and the state police," said Mr. Rama. He added that in 2013, the international reports were ranking the Albanian state police among the most corrupted institutions in the country. The Interior Minister Samir Tahiri commented on the difficulties of the police work, saying that they not only face crime in the streets, but also among the judges, who set the arrested criminals free. The new Minister of Economy commented for the first time today on the drop of inflation to its lowest level in 13 years. She said that the decline is related to the drop in consumption, but she expects an improvement of the situation in the coming months. Speaking briefly on the topic of improving the business climate in Albania, the minister said that the procedures are being eased for both taxes and construction permits. She made these statements today during an activity organized for the International Day of Consumers. She also announced that the new Inspectorate for Monitoring the Market will begin its work within 6 months' time. The great Albanian hero Mother Teresa is going to be sainted on the 4th of September. This news was announced today by Pope Francis himself, who signed the decree for canonization. The consecration ceremony will be held in St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City. The Pope originally announced the coming sainthood of Mother Teresa back in December after validating a second miracle attributed to her. The story involves the healing of a Brazilian man with multiple and terminal brain tumors after the prayers of his family. Mother Teresa was beatified in October of 2003 by the now deceased Pope John Paul II, who recognized her first miracle. She will be proclaimed a saint on the day before the anniversary of her death in 1997. September 4th will then be marked in the apostolic calendar as the day of the Albanian saint, Mother Teresa of Calcutta. That's all of our news for this evening. Thanks for watching. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with more news in English. Have a great night.